cooperates with the committee. Anderson, this is bad news for Donald Trump. These texts show Sean Hannity, Mark Meadows having exchanges that are in effect a betrayal. They are talking behind his back. And just for context, I want to point out what the committee's letter says at the top. They say that to Hannity, quote, you seem to have advanced knowledge regarding President Trump's and his legal team's planning, that he was, quote, providing advice, and that he had relevant communications while the riot was underway, that these communications make you, Hannity, quote, a fact witness. So let me just go through a couple of the texts. This first one is from December 31st, and this is Sean Hannity to former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. We can't lose the entire White House counsel's office. I do not see January 6th happening the way he is being told, he being Trump. After the 6th, he should announce he will lead a nationwide effort to reform voting integrity, go to Florida and watch Joe, that would be President Biden, mess up daily, stay engaged. When he speaks, people will listen. Then on January 5th, so this is the night before the riot, text to Sean Hannity to an unknown recipient, quote, I'm very worried about the next 48 hours. And another one that same night to Mark Meadows, Pence pressure, White House counsel will leave. It appears that Hannity may be talking to the White House counsel, Anderson, but in any case, he understands, and he's saying to Meadows that the pressure we know that Trump was putting on Mike Pence not to do the right thing on January 6th, this is evidence that the White House counsels were threatening to quit.
And I just want to play, Jamie, what Hannity was saying on his program on January 5th, the same day as those last two text messages to the former president's son, Eric Trump, and then to Senator Ted Cruz.
We have Ted Cruz coming on later in the program. We know that he wants his commission to look into this for 10 days. We're going to have about 150 House members supporting this as well. A big rally. I believe your dad will be addressing that rally tomorrow. Senator, I'm looking at the support you're getting in the Senate, and I'm looking at the support in the House, maybe 150 members in the end. It's looking like, realistically, can this really happen? I don't like to give this audience false hope. I want to, would we have an audit? Is that real? Is that a possibility? Do you see, for example, do you see any, after tomorrow, is there a path for the president constitutionally?
So, I mean, Jamie, clearly two very different narratives from Sean Hannity the day before the insurrection. Right. What was he texting the days after the insurrection?
So this next one is from January 10th. This is a text from Sean Hannity to both then Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and Congressman Jim Jordan. Quote, guys, we have a clear path to land the plane in 9 days. He can't mention the election again, ever. I did not have a good call with him today. And worse, I'm not sure what is left to do or say, and I don't like not knowing if it's truly understood. Ideas? Question mark. Just for some context, Anderson, later on in the committee's letter, there's mention of the 25th Amendment, which would be the amendment to remove the president. And the committee says to Sean Hannity that they would like to talk to him about any conversations with Mr. Meadows or others about any effort to remove the president under the 25th Amendment. So it appears, Anderson, the committee may have some more information about that, but there's a lot in here that speaks to Sean Hannity being concerned, no question, about Trump's state of mind.
And what's Hannity's response to all this?
So I believe that we just heard back from Jay Sekulow, who's his lawyer. He spoke to our colleague Gloria Borger and said, quote, we are reviewing the committee's letter and will respond as appropriate.
So I understand the January 6th committee chairman also wants to speak directly with the former vice president.
That's true. So Benny Thompson told our colleague Ryan Nobles today that the committee would like to speak to Mike Pence. So the question is, will Mike Pence cooperate? We don't know the answer yet, but I think it's important to point to the following. There are three people very close to Mike Pence who are cooperating: his former chief of staff, Mark Short, his former counsel, Greg Jacob, and his former national security advisor, Keith Kellogg. Those three people are very close to Mike Pence. They would not be cooperating with the committee without his blessing. So if I had to guess, I think Mike Pence will cooperate in some way with the committee.
Amy Gangel, appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.